right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to News Talk with, of course, with yours truly, the anchor man, coming to you as usual from the great state of Texas. Thank you for joining the show. If you are joining by way of Facebook, do the usual thing by hitting your share button, and if you are watching by way of YouTube, go ahead and do the same. Hit your share button. This is open mic. And you know what open mic is all about. Open mic means I can say anything, you can say anything, you can call any moment, anytime in the course of the show to ask a question, just anything. And you don't have to wait until I open the phone lines for you to say something. You can stop me at any moment, at any time, say whatever that you have to say. That is what open mic, ladies and gentlemen, is all about. So I look forward to having a very, very exciting moment with all of you. But for a moment, let's get back to Archbishop K. That man can dance. That man can dance. If he was a chief, I think he would have been even even better. Let's look at that again, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was entertaining, quite entertaining and exciting. Again, thank you for joining me here on the open mic. Open mic, you are free to call in any moment, anytime, in the course of the broadcast to make a contribution, and your contribution can be on any subject as far as Ambazonia is concerned. Ambazonia and la République du Cameroon, of course, is concerned. So thank you and good evening. Thank you for joining. I will be talking about, I will be going back to the subject that I discussed last Monday with my partner. Actually, it was Wednesday with my panel. La République du Cameroon appraiser of Grand National Dialogue and the Special Status, 6 years, or let me say almost 6 years after the Grand National Dialogue and Special Status, because this subject is important because Dion Ngute made two very profound statements or revelations. Number one, he said essentially that the goal of Grand National Dialogue was not to make peace. Of course, those of us in the diaspora who refused their invitations to go, I guess you now agree that we are vindicated. We are all vindicated because, again, from the words of Dion Ngute, it was not about peace, it was not about justice, it was not about a resolution to the conflict. It was all about pacifying all of us. That is making believe, having a semblance of without anything to show for it. And thank God, with the passage of time, they are now telling us exactly what their intentions were. Dion Ngute made it very clear their intentions was to bring normalcy, He also revealed that working with their partners, the intention of Grand National Dialogue was to penetrate the diaspora independent movement. In fact, when I get there, I will read that story. I would like to read part of it for you, but I will be talking about that. I will also be talking about, for the first time, Bishop Enke, whom you found dancing so hard on your screen, for the first time, he spoke truth to power in that meeting with Dion Ngute in Yaoundé, in which they said they were making an evaluation and appraisal of their Grand National Dialogue. I will be talking about that. Of course, there are many other issues to talk about. I will also be talking about this Nigerian blackleg, the Nigerian black, La République du Cameroon blackleg, who was caught in Nigeria by Ambazonian refugees and handed over to the Nigerian police, and he is now in the custody of the Nigerian police. I will bring you that story. You know, open mic is all about commentary, it's all about opinion and information, of course. So again, I would like you to join the show as usual. Call anytime, any moment, any subject in your mind. Feel free to call in and let's discuss this subject. Let's discuss the subject when you call in. I will be right back.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I take you to Yaoundé, where Dion Ngute held this meeting, so-called an appraiser of their Grand National Dialogue. and a praiser of the Grand National Dialogue. That meeting took place in Yaoundé on the 18th, I believe it was the 18th that meeting took place. And the meeting again was all about evaluating what they have achieved 6 years after Grand National Dialogue and the special status, what they have achieved. They gathered their so-called stakeholders, talking about, of course, all the cronies that represent La République du Cameroon in that country, their politicians, their elite. Of course, when they do these things, you would think that they will invite any true Southern Cameroonians. Forget about independencies or those standing for independence. Of course, no, they won't. I don't know whether they would even invite genuine federalists to that evaluation table. But whatever the case, the news came out, and I like to look for that piece of news and read particularly the paragraph that Dion Ngute really came out exposing the intentions, the grand agenda, ladies and gentlemen, the grand agenda of the Grand National Dialogue. And it was very clear. It was very clear again what they set out from that national dialogue to achieve. It was not about resolving this conflict. It was about bringing normalcy. You remember the 1991 tripartite that it held in Yaoundé when the country was burning after, with the advent of the SDF, and they called for a tripartite conference in Yaoundé in which they thought about, revising the constitution and addressing the needs of the people. After that was done, nothing ever came out of that. The Grand National Dialogue was organized in this order. It was organized to bring back normalcy, to quell down a situation and just continue with the same old game. But this is what Dion Ngute said, ladies and gentlemen. He said, and I quote, "One particular rewarding action of our diplomacy has been the engagement of partners." Now, I want you to note that word partners because I am going to dwell on it a little bit. In the engagement of our partners in disrupting the activities of secessionist leaders residing abroad. The engagement of their partners. The question now you should be asking yourself is, who are the partners of La République du Cameroon? Who are the partners, Dion Ngute's partners within the Ambazonia independent movement in the diaspora, abroad, the ones that he is referring to? I will attempt an answer to that question. Now, but he continue. This has amounted to judicial proceedings in the majority of countries hosting identified terrorist groups. Now, of course, he is referring to you and I as terrorist groups. You're referring to this interim government as a terrorist group. Now, Mr. Dion Ngute and your cronies out there, I want you to let you know, nobody in this interim government, no leader in this interim government is behind bars. You guys know that. None of them. At least not even Sako is behind bars. Chris Anu is not behind bars. Not even Marianta is behind bars. Of course, the only person behind bars is Sisiko. But when you pick up Sisiko, you thought the Chris Anus and the Sakos and everybody else, they will die a natural death. You failed, sir. You failed because imagine that. How long has have Sisiko and others been behind bars, and the struggle is still waxing strong? And you said, oh, normalcy has come. I'm going to be talking about that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very important. Let me go back. This is what he said they have achieved. The government has cracked down on separatists in the diaspora and normalcy has returned. I really hope that you guys get this message I'm bringing to you and take it home. Dion Gute said what they achieved. Again, this was a meeting to evaluate the progress of the Grand National Dialogue and the special status. And in doing so, he named the achievements that they have achieved coming out of the Grand National Dialogue and the special status 6 years after. 6 years after. So he said, number one, the government has cracked down on separatists in the diaspora and normalcy has returned. That was the first thing he said. The government has cracked down. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when I bring these things to you, I am trying to bring you, get some illumination shining within your psyche, your brains, to know how manipulative the government you are dealing with can be. Because the whole of this idea was, let's bring the separatists together. Let's bring the federalists together. Let's bring all Anglophones together. Let's bring the Southwest and the Northwest together. Let's bring everybody. Let's just come together to this table, put our problem on the table, and let's solve it. I hope I can locate a video here that was sent to me. I think that video was sent to me by Mola Lisenge, of what he said there, and I thought it was quite interesting. We will get that video. I would like to play that video so that you all can listen. They try to bring all these people. Some of these people went there to speak truth to power. Again, some of them went there, like the Mola Lisenge, they went there to speak truth to power. But no, of course, they were given the opportunity. I remember him lamenting that you paid my ticket from London, you housed me in the hotel here, and you invited me to this meeting to allow me to speak just for 3 minutes. He was on strike. He was on strike. I will see it. Please, let's try to get that montage from Lisenge. Let's try to get it on the screen here. So, but I'm coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try to get that video from Lisenge. I hope that we can find it. My technicians can find the footage. Okay, I think we got it. I'd like you to listen to Lisenge, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like you to listen to Lisenge in this footage coming from the Grand National Dialogue. The footage coming from the Grand National Dialogue. This is Mola Lisenge, and I like all of you to listen to him.
I'm someone, before I talk about the issue, I would like to read something because I have my invitation here. I'm sure most of you have the same invitation. So we should not sit here and trying to change the modality of what we are saying. It is clear. We can see the president's picture on this invitation. And what I can see here, national dialogue on the situation in Northwest and Southwest region, full stop. And I'm not changing anything. I'm saying I'm sure the government paid my flight to be here, and they've given me a hotel food, not to come and talk for 3 minutes. We were here yesterday. We sat there. Nobody from the diaspora was represented in the opening ceremony. We are not here for whitewash. We are not here for wishy-washy. I can see somebody like, this is flyer. I respect, sorry if I say the way I say it, because in London we call people by their first name. Mr. Abomaichor, I know him, we respected him when I was young in Boyle. and also in Bamenda, I was governor there. I can see my brother Mbelamoki there, and I know other people, I don't even Gole, and I can see Prime Minister Yang Philemon, who is from CPC Bali like myself, a senior man. I respect you all. First of all, I want to make that clear. I'm not here to attack any person. I'm somebody I call a spade a spade. And before I proceed, we are not here for any lecture. It's a dialogue. I've seen people try to define what is decentralization or what not. My constitutional lecturer in Guakele here in Yaoundé, Bipoumoun Jean-Marie, la constitution c'est pour les vivants, c'est pas pour les gens qui sont morts. So, yeah, that's what he said, because I will name some of them. Diongute was my lecturer, Munzu, Anyangwe, Bipumu, Joseph Oona, Augustine Kuncho. So I'm not talking like an Anglophone here. I want to fix this country. So I will call myself I'm more a Betty or somebody from Yaoundé, although I'm an Anglophone. So however, I'm not making my point as an Anglophone only. I'm saying we have a problem in Northwest and Southwest. And when we come and say l'État is not President Paul whom I respect. L'État c'est quoi? People who marry, my constitutional lecturer said again, it's called a public authority, a territory, and a population. So I'm l'État also, because people come and sit here, come the president, blah blah. All of us, we are l'État, population, authority. My point is, in English, we say what looks like a dog, walks like a dog, quacks like a dog is a dog. So we talk about, say, decentralization. England is what? United Kingdom. But you know something? We have devolution, decentralization. The Scottish people, they have their own parliament, first minister. Northern Ireland have what? They have their own first minister and parliament. It's still what? Decentralization, all of them. So we can come and be playing the games and talking about decentralization. The person who wins the election should decide what they should do in that part of the country. And when we come here, we talk about, I'm not going to be mean, I respect all of you on the table. I expect constitutional lawyer to be talking about these things, and at the end of the day, they should put it to the people for a referendum to choose whether they want whatever they have decided. Because if you want to create decentralization, we look at the country Cameroon, what have we got? We have got, is it a homogeneous or a heterogeneous nation? It's a heterogeneous nation. So automatically, we know that we cannot be talking about unity state in this room. That's how constitutional lawyer they look at it. So we cannot sit there and know there's somebody from human rights and other things. My brother Mbelamoki, other people are there. I respect all of you. But let's face the fact. And look, we are here to talk about Northwest and Southwest. I'm not saying there are no other problem in Marawa. My in-law, who used to be Secretary General, Mongolian Jabel, in Northwest, Dio, is my in-law. I've been talking politics for more than 25 years with him. My mentor, Dr. Mbomban Kolo, he passed away 4 years. I was here to bury him. He's a Betty man. He's a father to me. My other mentor, Mese Ekane Denise, former Secretary of State for Internal Security, the president's friend. They are all my people. But I want to say, we should sit here and face facts. And I'm not afraid. We should talk. I respect the opinion of those who want a unitary state. I respect the opinion for those who want federalism.
Mola, summarize.
Listen. You will give me at least 5 minutes more. I travel from London for 6 hours, not to come and talk for 1 minute.
Mola, please.
Yeah. I respect those who are here, who respect a unitary state is their opinion. The president said politics is about opinion. I respect the right of those who want federalism, and I respect the right of those who want to separate the country. What do you do? It's simple. Listen, what do you do? Like in Scotland, if you want Scottish people to remain in United Kingdom, give them what they want, they will stay. If you treat people differently, as if we are not brothers and sisters, unity is not about where. Peace is not about where. I have spent more than 25 years. I wrote a book, The Last Alternative, What Hope for the Cameroon, 25 years ago. I predicted this problem. I gave it to the government. And here we are here today. We want a proactive government and a political ambition. And one day I want to come back and do politics in this country. Let's sit down, let's be frank. J'aime même les francophones. Je ne suis pas seulement ici pour les anglophones, mais we should be frank to each other. We are here to talk about Northwest and Southwest. I want to see a person from the other aid region.
All right. Again, that was Mola Lisenge, who is a regular guest on my show, News Talk. That was at the Grand National Dialogue in Yaoundé. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, there were people who went there and they spoke truth to power. We disagree with Mola Lisenge on his stance with one Cameroon, whatever form that he stands for, but at least these are people who can speak truth to power, and he actually did right there on the floor of that so-called Grand National Dialogue. He was speaking there in front of Dion Ngute, the elite. He mentioned some of their names. But again, let us look at this. 5 years after, ladies and gentlemen, 5 years after the Grand National Dialogue, where they listened to, where people like this, people that a lot of people to Cameroon would not consider secessionists, where they listened to. Of course, when you listen to Dion Ngute says, no, they were not the people we were interested in. We just wanted them to come and fill the seats, and we feel like the diaspora was here. Well, anyways, they got the wrong diaspora. So people like Mola Lisenge went there and they spoke truth to power. 6 years after, La République du Cameroon government is doing an evaluation, an appraisal of what has happened from the Grand National Dialogue. Did anything change? Nothing changed. But this is the truth about it. This is the crux of the story. The crux of the story is in Dion Ngute's own words, that the Grand National Dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, was never about bringing a solution to the Anglophone, as they call it, or Ambazonian conflict. It was all about restoring, efforts to restore normalcy. Normalcy. And you will recall that after that, Dion Ngute and their other elites started going round and round the place, the country, Ambazonia. You saw Dion Ngute in Victoria with palm fronds. You saw Atanganji in Victoria and Bamenda with palm fronds. You saw Dion Ngute at the Yaba Hotel, surrounded with men and women carrying palm fronds. And all along they have tried to induce no mercy, peace. So far the peace eludes them. Now listen to the appraiser of Dion Ngute of so-called National Dialogue. Listen to what he said. He said, his primary achievement was this: the government has cracked down on separatists in the diaspora and normalcy has returned. Now they keep telling us, we keep hearing this on a daily basis, and they are trying hard to pass the message across, to force everybody to buy into the idea. There is a saying that you say it again and again and again and again, it becomes a normality. When you watch advertisement on television, advertisement is played. People do not pay to advertise people do not pay for a single slot, a single run to advertise a product, because You see it the first time, you are like, I don't care about that. But you see it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time, the seventh time, again and again and again and again. Your psyche begin to buy the idea of that product. And the day that you need that product, or you need something close to it, your mind will say, you've been seeing this thing on television. You go and buy it. It is good. Only because it was played and played and played and played until your psyche bought it as you saw it played on television. So La République du Cameroon, they live in the illusion that if they can just continue to say, no mercy has returned, no mercy has returned, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, and peace, 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 then everybody will just buy it. Unfortunately, they've not been able to sell it because for the past 6 years since Grand National Dialogue, the song, the chorus of no mercy and peace, we continue to hear it on their television sets, their radio sets, on their trips outside to for the so-called Meet the People's tour. No mercy has eluded them. But I'm not just saying this. Let's just look at the facts, ladies and gentlemen. Dion Gute is a chief. I've forgotten what the name of this village in Indian is. Maybe somebody should ask him when he last visited and why he has not visited for the past 6 years in his own village, in his own town. The town or village in which he is a traditional chief. Somebody should ask him again, when last was he in India? When was he there? If not, why not? There is no peace, Mr. Prime Minister. There is no mercy. If there is no mercy, Mr. Prime Minister, and your cronies out there, why do you continue on the daily basis to pick up innocent civilians and put them behind bars? Put them in Kondenge, put them in Boya, put them in Bamenda, put them in Douala. If there is no mercy, shouldn't you free all political prisoners? Shouldn't they all be freed by now? Why is Sisiko, Tassang Wilfred, Abdul Karim Ali, and all the others you can imagine, the BBC, guys who were not even carrying guns, what are they still doing behind bars? If there is no mercy, Mr. Prime Minister, what are they doing there? No mercy means there has been a restoration of peace and everything else is working as used to be. I guess that is a message you want people to believe. So if things have now returned to normalcy and they are working the way they should be, I suppose there should be no prisoner behind bars, no political prisoners behind bars, no Ambazonian civilian political activists behind bars. So if there is no mercy, what are they still doing behind bars? Mr. Prime Minister, you want us to believe there is no mercy? I want to hear that Sisiko is released. I want to hear that Tassang Wilfred is released. I want to hear that Abdul Karim Ali is released. I want to hear that every single Ambazonian civilian picked up and locked up in your gulags in La République du Cameroon and in Ambazonia. We want to hear they are released. Mr. Prime Minister, sir, if there is no mercy, what are refugees still doing in Nigeria? If there is no mercy, why are they not returning home, Mr. Prime Minister? So I would like Ambazonians to understand the manipulation of this regime in La République du Cameroon. They are not ready for any peace nor any normalcy, ladies and gentlemen. They are not ready for it. And since they are not ready for it, they think that they see the slowness, the sluggishness of the struggle at certain point, and they think that, okay, we are making progress, okay, we are winning. You are not winning anything. What I like Ambazonians to understand this, especially if you are on ground zero. When you hear that conflict, they dragged on for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. You count situations like this, where things appear like nothing is moving. But a few weeks, a few months after, an escalation altogether again. It just does that and replicate and replicate and replicate, and the years are running by. And then people like Dion Ngute and his cronies, they are saying no mercy, singing peace, but peace and no mercy elude them. Please take note, for the duration of this Ambazonia independent movement, for the duration of it, Yaoundé will not cease telling you there is no mercy, because they have no mercy in Yaoundé. I don't blame them for that. They don't live in Bamenda, they don't live in Boya, they don't live in Kumba, they don't live in Mamfe, they don't live in Lebialem, they don't live in Boyo, they don't live in Bui, they don't live anywhere. So where they live, yes, there is no mercy, but there is no mercy for the elite class, not for the regular man, not for the regular woman. So I just wish I could open your head and put this knowledge inside. Because what they are trying to do is psychologically defeat you, that, oh, those your separatists, as they call them, they have failed. There is no failure here, ladies and gentlemen. There is no failure here. The fact that they have not been able to release all those prisoners, Ambazonian prisoners, never believe them a day when they come to you and say there is no mercy. If there is no mercy, release our people. If things have returned to normalcy, release our people. Simple. Bring home the refugees. Settle the displaced. The displaced who are hanging there with you in La République du Cameroon, in Yaoundé, Dion Ngute. Send them home. Give them money to go back to their homes if there is no mercy in their homes. What are they still doing in Yaoundé? We are told there are over 700,000 of them in La République du Cameroon alone. We don't know how many are in Bamenda, in Boya. We know that there are at least 700,000 Ambazonians in Douala and in Yaoundé. If there is no mercy, Mr. Prime Minister, shouldn't these people be resettled home? Shouldn't the refugees be back home by now and rebuilding their lives? Of course not. The picture is clear. You guys out there in Yaoundé, you think the people of Ambazonia are fools? We had this charade, year in, year out, year in, year out, year in, year out. And finally, 2016, we said never again. And when we said never again, we mean it. We mean it. Never again. This thing is not going to end anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is not ending anywhere without a settlement, without Ambazonia sitting on a round table with La République du Cameroon, negotiating a ceasefire and negotiating an end inside the end program. It is not going to happen. So they can sing normalcy and peace on a daily basis and maybe succeed to hold some festivities here and there. You know, when they succeed to hold a festivity anywhere in Ambazonia, like they recently held the mountain race, oh, they celebrate no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy. Let me assure you, ladies and gentlemen, no mercy doesn't mean the absence of war. No mercy doesn't mean the absence of conflict. No mercy doesn't mean the absence of our grievances. No mercy doesn't mean that the root causes to this conflict have been settled. Absolutely not. And we are pressing on. and pressing on, and we will get there. Now let me get back to the second point that Dion Ngute makes in their achievement from the national dialogue. So the number one thing he said is no mercy. And then the number two thing he mentioned is that they have cracked down, not that word. They have cracked down, which means he is saying La République du Cameroon's government has cracked down on separatists in the diaspora. Again, take note of that. Now, let me quote him actually. Dion Ngute says, I'm quoting him now, one particular rewarding action of our diplomacy has been the engagement of partners in disrupting, the engagement of partners. That means the usage of partners. The question, who are those partners? I'm coming to it. He said the engagement of partners in disrupting the activities of secessionist leaders residing abroad. This has amounted to judicial proceedings in the majority of countries hosting identified terrorist groups. Oh my, identified terrorist groups. But I'd like us to dwell a little bit on the mention of partners in the diaspora, ladies and gentlemen. It says, one particular rewarding action of our diplomacy has been the engagement of partners. The engagement of partners. The question is, who are Dion Ngute's partners here among us in the Ambazonian movement? Who are they? Throughout the entire duration of this struggle, I have made lots and lots of enemies, lots of them out there, because I called them out for their effort, for their attempts to betray us, to sell this struggle. And I made a lot of enemies in some of them. There are many out there who, if they find me, I know that Mark Barretta didn't mean it, but when you hear people say, if you put Chris Anu and Paul Biya, I will shoot Paul Biya, I will shoot Chris Anu and spare Paul Biya, you know what that means. Again, I don't think Mark Barretta meant that, but I'm just trying to tell you how much some people have been offended because I have called them out. And comrades, every time I come out and call out a situation, it turns out to be true. It turns out to be correct. If we were not doing that, maybe the independent movement would have been over. It would have been over. If we were not calling out people that Dion Ngute is referring to as partners, La République du Cameroon partners in the diaspora, within the separatists, within the independent movement, this thing would have been watered down. And La République would have settled. La République would have settled with the federalists, maybe with some 10 state federation or 20 state federation. I remember receiving a call from the Canadian ambassador when the Swiss, when Cameroon walked out from the Swiss initiative. The Canadian ambassador called me and said, Chris, the Swiss process is officially over. Cameroon has pulled out. And he said to me, the Prime Minister himself called me, of course referring to Dion Ngute. He said, the Prime Minister Dion Ngute called me and he said he has obtained endorsement from the head of state himself, that is Paul Biya. Again, this is what the Canadian ambassador was telling me, ambassador in Yaoundé. He said, the Prime Minister Dion Ngute spoke to me and said he has received official endorsement from the head of state, Paul Biya, to hold a conference, a dialogue with all of you, the independentists in the diaspora. I want to know, Chris, whether you will be willing to be in that meeting. And as I listened to it, and I said to him, okay, let me go and talk to my people about it. I will come back and respond to you. When I came back to him, I said, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much. Thank you for what Canada is doing. However, this interim government will not be represented because we see this Canadian thing to be a furtherance, another version of the grand national dialogue. And comrades, it turned out exactly to be another grand national dialogue. Now, to the credit of our comrades who went there, they did a great job. They didn't bow, they didn't pander to La République delegation. But La République delegation was shocked that Ambazonians came there, stood on their feet, and decided they were not going to compromise, except the likes of Capo, Daniel, and the underground things they were trying to do. You know, it is from Canada that Capo Daniel went out and formed his own thing and walked away from the A-Gov-C because there was conflict of interest between Capo Daniel and A-Gov-C as to how to approach Cameroon. My understanding is that the A-Gov-C wanted connections to be able to talk to the people who represented Cameroon directly. They wanted their phone numbers to reach out to them. Capo Daniel said, you have to pass through me to reach out to them. And that is where their heads were knocked up. So, Canada was over. Cameroon going back realizing that Ambazonians were determined to prosecute their independence case, walked away from the Canadian thing. They walked away from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Cameroon is doing. They always think they are going to cajole, coerce. But when they fail, they use individuals to penetrate us. Oh, I hope somebody's getting this. There was this big thing at a point in time, you all heard about it, this CDN. CDN, what was CDN stand for? Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. CDN. They were all over the place telling us they are neutral. They don't support Cameroon. They don't support Ambazonia. Yet, when you look at all of them on their faces and you ask the question, where is your umbilical cord? Your umbilical cords are in Ambazonia. And so how can you come and tell us that you are neutral for anything that has to do with Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon? And yet, we found out members of the CDN had NGOs registered in Yaoundé within 6 months of the existence of the CDN. When I came here, sat on this television set and called them out. Oh, Chris Anu is this, Chris Anu is that, Chris Anu is this. They would have sold us if I had not exposed them. These are the partners of Dion Ngute. Ladies and gentlemen, they were funded from the Prime Minister's office. The CDN, reliably informed, was funded by Dion Ngute. Those are the people that Dion Ngute is calling partners in the diaspora. They use them to try to infiltrate us. Would you believe when the CDN was created, they wanted to work with every group, the interim government. And they invited me into a meeting. They wanted to speak to me about the organization, to tell me what their mission is, and so on and so forth. Would you believe that the CDN, according to reliable information that was sent to me by one of us in the cabinet, actually Elad, Dr. Elad in Germany, gave me that information. My name was one of the names that the CDN submitted to what? Is it human rights groups and is it International Criminal Court or whichever court? I don't remember. But my name was one of those. They submitted as a perpetrator of violence in Cameroon, of course. Yeah, they were trying to woo us to belong. You know, they come across looking as harmless doves, but they were so sneaky. But we were smart enough to catch, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what they are. Look at if you have if you differ with me, I want you to look at this. Look at the second Canadian conference. The second Canadian conference. I don't remember what they call it. It was called a coalition. The CDN went to La République du Cameroon, brought all these NGOs, gathered them in Canada. You saw those women from La République du Cameroon in the conference in Canada. You think they were representing Ambazonia? You think they were speaking for Ambazonia? Of course not. The CDN was on ground zero, fighting to persuade our fighters to drop down their arms. These are the partners of La République du Cameroon, the partners that John Ngute is referring to. They use their partners in the diaspora, he said, to infiltrate the separatists. Who are La République du Cameroon's partners in the diaspora? Yesterday we heard of PRAP, or the APJ, Alliance of Peace and Justice. We heard of the International Communities Organization. It caught fire for a moment, and then the moment I stepped out and exposed them, it crumbled like a house of cards. The APJ. You saw that guy who said he was at the he was in that one conference in Europe representing Ambazonia. I'm talking about J.J. Asongo. You saw him in that conference in Europe representing Ambazonia. And when you look behind him and you see the people he represents, they are not Ambazonians, they are one Cameroonese. They are one Cameroonese. You know, they come up with this write-up, these position papers where they spell out the peace process, the ceasefire, the laying down of arms, the reconstruction. And then they said, well, we will fight for federation, and then when we get federation, they said, then they can talk about independence. That's what Milam Atam told me here on this set. When you come across anybody mixing federation and independence together, wash your hands behind that person. They are not part of us. They are not part of this independent movement. They may have been yesterday, but today, I bet you, they are not. Who are Dion Ngute's agents, partners in the diaspora? When you hear the caucuses of independentists and federalists. Comrades, can you imagine me taking the independent movement, the interim government, to go join with federal? I don't know, some of our people are so naive. I heard them saying some saying it's a good idea. Let's just be so inclusive. Inclusive to where? If you are trying to be inclusive with every Tom and Dick, then you don't know where you are heading to. You don't know what you are looking for. What is the difference between a federalist and one Cameroonese? They are all Cameroonians. They are all Cameroonians. We expect them to sit down and agree within themselves what they want. They know what we want. No mincing of words about it. No pretense about it. It is as clear as day and night what the independent movement wants. What do federalists want? Let them go sit down with Cameroon, negotiate their position, bring it to the table, and we will appreciate it and figure out how we can come in. But if you think that right now we can go walking together with them and sitting on the same table and discussing how we end the conflict, the federalists will be on that table all their plan, all their goal is how that the conflict gets over. I talked to Professor Ben Enke again and again. Ben Enke likes independence, but he will tell you he will not give a dime to support warfare, to support ground zero. How many federalists that the caucuses are bringing together will put down money to defend Ambazonia's freedom? They just run their mouths and want us to believe that, federalism is good. But how are they fighting for it? How do they fight for it? You don't see them fighting for it. They instead see the independentists as the problem. Whereas it is the independentists who has given them the voice to even be able to speak. Federalists can go to La République du Cameroon, ladies and gentlemen, today. But you think Chris Anu can set foot anywhere in Cameroon? Impossible. I visited Calabar in 2000 and I think that was 2002, the moment I took over the leadership of this interim government. And it was by the grace of God that I was able to return to this country. It was the grace of God. It was the grace of God. I don't think I have told this story. Let me brief you. We went to Calabar to visit the refugees 2022. We got there very late at night. And the refugees and the leaders, they did not know that I was coming there with a delegation from the U.S. They were told that some important personalities were coming there from Russia. And we told them to expect them and welcome them. They are coming with food for the refugees and to have some meetings with them. We got to Calabar very late, around 2 a.m. at night. We checked into the hotel. Early in the morning, we had a meeting. The leaders, the refugee leaders, were surprised to see me there, and two others who went with me. We had a brief meeting for about an hour with the refugee leaders, and then the refugees themselves were gathered at another location so we could go share the food that we had bought for them and brought for them. We got there to the refugee gathering location, and they introduced me. I spoke for 5 minutes. I was still speaking. I had barely spoken for 5 minutes, and one of our security chief came and whispered to my ears, "Let's leave. We should leave. The army is here." And I handed the microphone. By the time I handed the microphone and we were leaving, the two army guys who had come there, they were leaving. They were taking off. The moment they left, we left. I left with my team. Went back to the hotel. And from the hotel, we took off back to Lagos. The driver who dropped us from the refugee location ceremony ground returned to the ceremony ground. The moment he got there, the place was packed full with the Nigerian soldiers and police, wherever they were. The place was packed. They were looking for us. The moment the driver returned to that place, to that ground, they told the soldiers, "That is the driver. That is the driver who dropped them in the hotel." They picked up the driver and said, you will take us to that hotel where you dropped them." They took the driver to the hotel where he thought he dropped us. Before we left the hotel in the morning, we had checked out. We had checked out. Our car was parked somewhere. Nobody knew our car. The car we were riding, it was parked somewhere. We went. He dropped us at the hotel. We went in, checked our bags out, got into the car, drove off, heading back to Lagos. When they came to the hotel and asked the hotel attendants, "Where are these people who were dropped here?" and the hotel attendants told them that we checked out. They said, "You are not serious. This is a lie. They just came back to the hotel a few minutes ago. You said they have checked out." And the hotel attendant said, "Yes, they checked out," and showed them the books. When they opened the book, they saw we checked out. They still refused to believe that we checked out of the hotel. They told the hotel attendants to open every room in the hotel for them to inspect it. They went through every room in that hotel looking for Chris Anu and 2 others who came from the USA. They didn't find us. Now, they asked, well, they didn't find us. They asked, as they didn't find us, we were already out of Calabar heading to Lagos. I was wearing some cowboy boots on my legs, and they were really hurting me. And we got to a junction where I said to the driver, please, let's stop it. I need to buy some slippers, remove these boots, and put on the slippers so I can relax. We stopped at that junction. Thank God it was a marketplace. Why at that junction, 2 convoys of military, of soldiers drove by looking combat ready? We saw them, they didn't see us, but we had no idea who they were. We just thought these were Nigerian soldiers heading to some direction, heading somewhere. We didn't know they were looking for Chris Anu. So we saw them, then we bought what we were buying, left that location, continued the journey. We went a few minutes, maybe about 30 minutes from there, and Dr. Atienjo was with me, sitting behind the car, and his phone started ringing. It rang and rang and rang. He refused to pick the phone. I turned, I was in front of the seat, and I turned to him and said, why are you not picking your phone? Your phone is ringing, pick your phone. And he was like, well, these refugees, they think we are still around. They probably just want to meet us and see whether we can give them some more money. Not knowing that God was actually enabling him, making him not to pick that phone call. The person who was calling him, the phone rang and rang and rang and rang. The person who was calling was that driver whom the soldiers had picked up to take to the location where we were. So the guy called, and Atienjo refused to pick the phone. I was like, okay. Now, after we got to, I think it was Owerri, we got calls from the refugee leaders back in Calabar, and they said they were all on the run. They were all on the run, and some of them haven't picked up. We said, what happened? That was when they narrated the whole story of what transpired when we left. So when they didn't find Chris Anu and the rest, they went around picking our refugee leaders who had met with us in Calabar. It was then they told us they had the driver with them. The driver who dropped us in the hotel, they had him with them. And the driver was calling us to know our location, where we were. If Atienjo had answered the phone, he probably would have framed up something to the effect that we should wait, he is coming. And maybe ignorantly we would have waited. But thank God, Atienjo didn't pick that call. He didn't pick that call. Now, once we got back here to the U.S., the guy told us that driver now, he was detained for I think 2 days. After he was released, he told us, one of the soldiers whom he knew among them said they had brought a flying boat from Cameroon into the Calabar creeks. And the idea was that if they pick us up, they would drop us in that flying boat and take us straight to Cameroon, or maybe kill us in the ocean and finish us in there, and nobody will ever know Cameroon did that. Of course, we're American citizens. They couldn't take us to Cameroon and let anybody know we were in their custody. So possibly the plan was kill us, drop our corpses in that ocean, and nobody will know that it was Cameroon that did that. But thank God, it did not happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you would have heard that what happened to Siseko may have happened to Chris Anu, Atienjo, and Mas Tanji. This is what they did. And they are doing so. They have tried these things several times. I receive anonymous calls here telling me to be careful. And when you look at the number, it's a private number, it is blocked, but you receive warnings. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point I am saying to you. We have given our lives into this struggle. We are not about to bow down, to surrender, to compromise for any reason without a free and independent Ambazonia. And so when we come out here, when I come out here calling the names of the people who want to sell us back to slavery, to La République du Cameroon, let's take them seriously. Let's take it seriously. Suddenly, the CDN is kind of dead and gone. Now, the APJ shows up with JJ Asongu International Communities Organization, Cabo Daniel, and the rest. That one has died a natural death now. Now, the one that is making waves now is the so-called Milan's Atom's caucuses, the caucuses of independentists and federalists. How, again, the question, how does an independentist go working with somebody who doesn't believe in the vision, in the idea of independence? How is that possible? But this is the crux of it, ladies and gentlemen. The crux of it is that these are the partners that Dion Ngute is referring to in the diaspora. Every time an independentist backslides and begin to speak the language of La République du Cameroon, the terminology, begin to use the terminology of La République du Cameroon, you see them on Equinox TV. You see them in front of Cameroon newspapers. You see them on CRTV. You see them on the Cameroon media. I want to show you something that I came across here. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Momentum builds for Arusha conference to address Southern Cameroon's conflict. Momentum builds for Arusha conference to address Southern Cameroon's conference. Now you can see the image, the faces of those behind the conference. Apart from Milan Atam's face there, do you know anybody there? Look at those faces there. Apart from, you may not even know who Milan Atam is, because Milan Atam was part of this struggle, but around 2018, he disappeared. And he had just resurfaced with the caucuses. And they now want us to believe they have a solution. But guess what? They betray themselves. They expose themselves by their association. Now look, that's a Cameroon newspaper, Daily Voice. When have you seen Chris Anu in front of a Cameroon newspaper? If they put Chris Anu in front of a Cameroon newspaper or TV or whatever, in fact, comrades, you guys don't know how many times I have called some of those media houses to say to them, hey, if you bring Capo Daniel to your television set to come and spew lies about our struggle, we have, as an objective media, we have the right for a response. I want to come on your set and defend what these people are saying. The Padisa Sangas, you know all of them. You know all of them. No, they can't allow Chris Anu show up on your television. They can't allow Chris Anu show up in front of their newspapers. The only time you will see, if you find Chris Anu on the cover of their newspapers, know that they have written something very, very denigrative, very, very defamatory, as of course, very, very negative, very, very negative. They will not write anything positive. No, not about me, not about the struggle. But when these our infiltrators that I call them when they leave, you see them on the front page of Cameroon newspapers. You see them on their television sets. talking about peace and justice. They are against killings. They are against the torture of civilians. They are against this, they are against that. They are against Ambazonian restoration fighters. That's how you know. That's how you know who Dion Ngute's partners are, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you know who Dion Ngute's partners are. But they must be exposed, just as I am doing. I'm not just coming to sit here to give you this information. The reason I bring this information is so that we know who is for us and who is against us. Who is for Ambazonia and who just want a position. You know, at the beginning of this struggle, comrades, at the beginning of this struggle, people with money, they were pouring in money, putting it into people's private pockets, and hoping that we are going to Boya very soon. Once we get to Boya, he will become the director of this. He will become the general manager of that. Where are those people today? Where are they today? Where are they? Where are they? They are gone. The vamoose. We are basically pleading to get people to put their money in their own freedom today. Where are those people? They are gone. Now you hear them say that one thing. That one thing. That's what some of them are saying. That one thing. That one thing. But I thank God for ground zero, the resilience of ground zero. You people have proven that without a diaspora, you will get your independence. If you are a fighter in the bush, I want you to know this. Don't listen to the naysayers in the diaspora who call you and they try to tell you lay down your arms. Every one of these groups, the CDN, the APJ, Milan Atoms Caucuses, they want people to lay down their arms. How do you lay down your arms in a conflict you have fought for 9 years without any insight to a ceasefire agreement? You are laying down your arms on what terms? And for what reason? And with who? With Capo Dania? With Milan Atam? With the APJ, JJ Asungu? Come on. If you are a fighter in the bush, listen to the sound of my voice. There is only one moment that there will be a laying down of arms. That moment will come when we have signed a ceasefire agreement with the Republic of Cameroon, without which this war can continue for the next 40 years until that ceasefire agreement is reached. There is no surrender. There is no surrender. When you look at headlines like this one, blown on newspaper covers in Cameroon, guess what they are trying to do? You know what they are trying to do by taking up stories in Cameroon newspapers? Of course, what they want people to, what they are trying to do is to sell what they are doing. Not only selling what they are doing, they are subliminally letting a lot of people to Cameroon know we are at work. We are at work. When you see them taking up pages in Cameroon newspapers, oh, I hope that Ambazonians are getting this. That is what is happening here, ladies and gentlemen. That is what is happening here. We have tried to get just our press statements published. I have the contacts of almost every media house in La Republic du Cameroon and in Ambazonia. Even when we write press statements, we push it to them. We want them to publish it. We ask them to publish it. Never, ever. But when people walk away from the struggle and they are now on the side of Cameroon, you start finding their stories, their headlines in front of Cameroon newspapers. That is when you know who is working for La République du Cameroon. Shine your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Shine your eyes. Let us know our true leaders. When I come here occasionally to do these exposures to you, I want your eyes to be open. Yes, our independence may be slow to come, but listen, traitors will always be there. They should not be a source of surrender, a motivation to surrender for any of us. Not at all. Not at all. So please, now, La République du Cameroon is having this Arusha conference. Arusha conference. Milan Atam suddenly comes up with an Arusha conference. Arusha is in Tanzania, you know that. So Milan Atam suddenly wakes up from slumber, and he is organizing a Southern Cameroon's conflict forum in Arusha. And he wants every Ambazonian to believe that all the leaders of Ambazonia are meeting in Arusha. You should not be deceived. Is Akwanga going to be there? No, of course not. Is Chairman Komita going to be there? Of course not. Sako going to be there? Of course not. Chris Anu going to be there? Of course not. So, is this even Sissoko? I don't think his people are going to be there. So you should ask yourself, who does Milan Atam consider to be the leaders, ladies and gentlemen, the leaders of Cameroon, of Ambazonia, that he is taking to Arusha? Please, let's be wise. Let's be very wise and refuse to be deceived with events like this and people like this. We've known them for what they do for a long time. But let me connect this to another subject here, still going back to the subject of this grand national dialogue. Before I do that, I will take a brief break out, and I'll be back. I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed the bishop dancing there, and I wish I'd meet him one of these days, and tell him how good he is a dancer. But to our story, speaking truth to power, ladies and gentlemen, when people do the right things, you acknowledge it, and you give them the praises that they deserve. I listened to a speech presented during Dion Ngote's evaluation of the so-called Grand National Dialogue. And the Archbishop, for the first time, for the very first time that I have known him, and maybe the second time, because I remember when he was still in Manfe, he spoke bitterly against the government of the Republic of Cameroon and what their soldiers were doing in Manfe, killing people. And then after that, whatever happened, he kind of changed sides, I should say. He kind of changed side, started speaking like a spokesman for the regime in Yaoundé. Remember, he was out all over the place telling people to go and register to vote, and so on and so forth. But at this last meeting in Yaoundé, March 18, he was there, and I think what he presented was essentially a rebuke to the statement from Dion Ngute and at large to the government of the Republic of Cameroon. He was very blunt. He said to them, Mr. Prime Minister, there is no yet peace, no normalcy. For peace and normalcy to return, Bishop K said, you, the government, should invite the separatists in the diaspora, sit on the table with them. If you do that, maybe normalcy, maybe peace will return. I thought that was very bold and blunt of him to have put that right on their faces in that conference. For that, Bishop K, you win my support, at least for now. Let us hope that La Republique du Cameroon, they listen to you and do the right thing. There is not going to be any peace that they gain, that they talk about will be the peace of Saladin. The peace of Saladin. How many of you know who Saladin was? He was a Muslim leader who ended, was it the Crusades? Reached an agreement to end the Crusades only to buy time to recoup and get back to the war front. So any peace that La Republique is talking about now is a peace of Saladin, temporary peace. Temporary peace. If you don't want really to touch the core of the problem, peace and normalcy will elude you forever. Now, let me quickly get to the last story here that has to do with the arrest in Calabar. The arrest in Calabar of this La Republique agent. The arrest in Calabar of this La Republique agent by Ambazonian refugees. I'd like you to listen to him.
Not the small beginning, I go must get other ways to get cover. I'll tell you when they are. Okay, yeah, let's see over you. Bring it forward. And I listen to the voice. When I'm saying the guy of Fakona General, every under the Ghana them says, I'm Colonel send me pictures, the city one that they can't surrender. Yeah.
No, they did not send the picture. You were in that video. Okay. That picture.
For that picture.
Colonel send you.
Colonel send the picture.
What did be your name? Fedina who? Tanko. Okay, now these people where they work at college, so who did you transport for carry them? Who is feeding them and who is transporting them?
Okay. Me I no carry people go surrender. When then I went.
Okay, no, the one that we carry maybe they no go surrender. Who takes care of them? Who puts their bills?
No, the ones where you go to carry from Benue State.
No, na workers. No, na workers.
Workers?
Yes.
Which one?
For go work for farm, pa.
Be careful.
The devil, you don't see them on farm.
Be careful.
The guy on the wheel.
You don't see them.
Workers.
Everybody, you don't see them on farm.
Tell me, say nobody go carry you. Now you will do that. Come if we carry you from. Okay, so one guy you want to go for a farm. One guy you want to go for a farm.
I tell you, he said if we want one person where to be here for say you talk all the colony, whether na colony, then na say like this, they don't arrest you here, won't kill you.
make Nokia come. Make Nokia come, God tell us say he won't go back on his own so that you will wash your hand come up for Nokia matter. You understand? We want here. Now what you want? Not be only hearing your voice.
Make it time. This kind of illegal business, they can't put from Nigeria government. I say, when I ask her when Pablo's Gary and Yam way from where the Gary and Yam way from
All right. So the young man seated with a cell phone in the hands, he calls himself Divine Tanko. Divine Tanko. He was picked up in Nigeria. We are told that he has been the agent of Misodi-Political Cameroon. He will visit the refugees and secretly convince them to return to the ground. And when they get on the ground, they are taken to the DDRO center. That's a guy whose face you see in the white shirt and the phone with the phone on hands. So he was being used by Misodi-Political to go to Nigeria, lure our refugees to return to the ground. And when they return to the ground, they are then picked up and sent to the DDRO center. So this time, refugees had trapped him, and they lured him into a meeting in which he thought he was going to convince quite a handful of them to buy into his idea of going back to the ground, to Misodi-Political Cameroon. And so right here, he got ambushed, and they picked him up, and you can see other refugees interrogating him. He sits as relaxed as if nothing is happening. But right now, I don't think he is relaxed as he is there, because he is in the hands of the Nigerian police right now. Again, he says his name is Divine Tanko. His name is Divine Tanko. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will open the phone lines. I have not received any call yet, but this time I will open the phone line. If you want to call to make a contribution, please go ahead and do so. But remember that you have to turn down the volume of your television before you call. Turn down the volume of your television before you call. I am expecting your phone calls now. All right, and I think I have only about 5 more minutes to be here. So if you want to call, go ahead and call as soon as you can. Go ahead and call as soon as you can. Okay. The phone line again is open. Okay, I guess there are no callers. I hope that Ground Zero was watching. And in the absence of any callers, probably we'll round this up. So ladies and gentlemen, I have about 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes. If you can call within 2 minutes, I will take your call before I end the show. In the meantime, let me see if Archbishop Enke can entertain us a little bit more while I wait for your phone calls. commanders in the area. How old was your chief?
Pardon?
How old was the chief?
Well, I not just I not really know the age, but
Okay.
I think also if he just be like somebody like 70 something.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I hear you. I will get a message to the generals in the area.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Before I go, I like to send this stern message to the Colonial Divisional Officer for Libialum and the chiefs in Alo area, Alo local government area. It has come to our knowledge that the Colonial Divisional Officer for Libialum wants to conduct a so-called meet the chiefs visit to every palace in Alo local government area. Well, if the chief, if the colonial DO for Libialum thinks that he now has the security to travel around Libialum freely, he should remember what the fighters in the BLM did just 3 days ago. Just 3 days ago, because they thought there were no more fighters in the BLM, but 3 days ago they saw it with their eyes, what those fighters can do, and the fact that they are not perturbed, they are still there and strong and ready to fight. So this message goes to the SDO, the colonial SDO. If you love your life, dare not set foot on any palace inside Libialum. Now, we understand, say, this SDO, it tell the chief, we wanna hear this chief people them. The SDO, it don't tell, make every chief, it contribute 50,000 francs cash, where it will reach for your hands before it will then make the visit for the chief palace. And when you go for chief palace, they will still cook food. They will cook food. They will celebrate. They will give you cow. They will give you goat. They will give you all. I mean, you guys know how those things happen, right? Plus 50,000 francs. Now, most of these chiefs, they are not even in the village. But whether you are in the village or out of the village, you are made to cough out 50,000 francs and give to the colonial official. Now, I understand that in our law, local government alone in Libialum, there are about 46 chiefs. About 46 chiefs. You calculate 46 times 50,000 is, I think it's over 4 million. That is the money. The colonial SDO in Libialum will put in his pocket as his personal money for going around to visit with these chiefs. Now, I'd also send a message for every chief in Alo, Mogbin, and all those areas. If you don't want to identify yourself with the colonial regime for Yaoundé, tell the SDO to stay away from your village. If you no one identify yourself, make we see you as a black leg. Tell the colonial official to stay away from your village, because you will come and go, but you will remain. You will remain, and we have all the time that we can to use you for a spectacle, for an example. So please listen to my voice. Listen to my voice. If you are a chief in Alo local government, in Mogbin, Mogngie, all those areas, and the colonial DO for Libialum tells you he is coming to visit you, tell him you are not home, not to show up, because if he succeeds to come and go, you will remain, and we will get you out of that palace. And I really mean it. And I really mean it. So stay away from the colonial SDO for the BLM. The guy does not even live in Minji. He lives in Chang. He is coming around to make the trips go around, make his money out of you. Money that you are not being paid. So please, I hope so. Every chief in Alo and Mogbin, Mongi and those areas, I hope they hear me. Stay away from the colonial officer for the BLM. Because when he is attacked, you will not go free. You yourself will not go free. That is all I can say to you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being part of the broadcast today. I look forward to being back here on Monday with news talk, and of course,
a